surviving a Juneteenth power outage. The power went out. At first it was the internet, is kind of screwy where I am, and then full-fledged outage. Everything was dark on Juneteenth, and why not? I guess even the power company deserves a break on a federal holiday, even though I was surprised that it's a federal holiday, but it's not necessarily a state or local holiday. Banks are taking the day off, and postal workers, they're not delivering. But apparently some people do have to work today. And oddly enough, one of the states that hasn't embraced Juneteenth as a day off for state employees is California. Now, how did California get mixed in with places like Florida and the Carolinas? I don't know, but it was enough that Joe Biden 3 years ago was able to get Juneteenth in as a federal holiday. So here we are. So you got to expect things like a power outage in the middle of Juneteenth. How are you, everyone? Emil Guillermo here. This is Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. We do this show Monday through Friday, usually at 2 o'clock live, because that way I don't have to script a darn thing. And I just, talk. It's a reality talk show, I call it. We talk about the news in a normal news talk sense. Talk about the things that are important to you. And today, right, if you're a person of color, this is an important day, Juneteenth. And a lot of people are saying, wow, Juneteenth, I noticed some of the stories were that Juneteenth has always been around. People have celebrated the disparity of the 2.5 years that it took between the Emancipation Proclamation and the very last state to get the word, which was Texas on Juneteenth. I remember living in Texas and in the 70s. I had to tell people that is the 1970s, not the 1870s. And I didn't know, I had not really heard of Juneteenth. History major that I was. I mean, I heard vaguely some things about it, but I didn't really understand the significance of it. And wouldn't you know that 60% of people don't even, when Biden got this thing through, it got it to be a federal holiday, 60% of Americans knew very little about Juneteenth. So we're just getting our Juneteenth bearings in America, thank goodness. But as you know, if you're Asian American, this day is also special, and it really shows the importance of the linkage of this idea of solidarity, how we have a lot in common. Solidarity with the Asian American community and the African American community. Because on this day, on June 19th, 1982, this is the day that Vincent Chin, who was subject to maybe the most famous Asian American hate crime ever. I mean, I can't really imagine one that has meant so much to Asian American activism. I mean, historically, there were Asian American hate crimes. Lynchings in the 19th century, lynchings in the 1920s, 30s, Asian Americans, Chinese Americans, Filipinos here in California. But I really can't think of another hate crime that has meant so much to Asian America besides Vincent Chin. And that also, even though many Americans don't know about Vincent Chin, or they've heard about it, but they don't know enough about Vincent Chin, which is why we have to talk about it all the time, especially on these historical dates, because it was a pretty heinous crime for which the perpetrators have not spent a day behind bars, have not even respected nor honored the the judgment, the civil judgment for the wrongful death of Vincent Chen. And we're going to talk about all that. And for some people who say, Emil, you're kind of horning in on Juneteenth, don't you think? No, because Juneteenth is about hope. Juneteenth is about making sure that people are aware that the Emancipation Proclamation took place and that the gap between the Emancipation Proclamation and Juneteenth, we've got to reconcile that. I mean, you think about it, the Emancipation Proclamation, September 22nd, 1862, and the slaves in Texas were working overtime until the U.S. Army finally came in and then announced the end of slavery in 1860. Well, the Emancipation Proclamation, 1862, Juneteenth, 1865, June 19th, 1865. It was over. They got every last ounce of labor. And I just think it's important for people to understand that history. That history is a reminder that truth wins out. Eventually there is hope. And it's justice delayed, not justice denied. But for Asian Americans, you figure we have never gotten justice. Not for Vincent Chen. Just look at the facts in the Chen case. The state murder prosecution where the lead perp, Ronald Ebens, and his stepson, Michael Nitz, were allowed to plea bargain to second-degree murder and given 3 years probation and fined $3,700, $3,720 exactly. They were allowed to plea bargain their way out of a murder. Then there was the first federal prosecution on civil rights charges that ended in a 25-year sentence for Ebens. Ebens appealed to the Sixth Circuit, which was granted, and that second federal trial was moved from Detroit to Cincinnati and ended in Ebens' acquittal. And we might disagree with it, but there is no double jeopardy. He was allowed to go free. And this is a matter of justice, not just delayed, denied. One man dead, perps go free. Ebens and his stepson spent no time in jail for the murder of Vincent Chen. So Asian Americans can relate to something like Juneteenth and say, yeah, there's hope. The truth wins out. The truth wins out. Ultimately, the word got to Texas that, there's this thing called the Emancipation Proclamation. You're free. Thank goodness. But it took them 2.5, almost 3 years. I'd be mad. But we celebrate. And the positive thing is that we can celebrate the fact that there's hope. There's hope. Now, Emil, you say, how does this relate to the Vincent Chen case? Well, like I said, there's hope. There's still hope. You got to be positive. The Chen estate is still waiting for Ronald Ebens to pay up. He hasn't paid up. And he's really definitely used all the bankruptcy laws that work in his favor to avoid payment. These are the same bankruptcy laws that Donald Trump once hailed. as, hey, I'm just using the bankruptcy laws, help me. But if you want to be positive about what all this has meant to the Asian American community, as more and more people find out about the Vincent Chin case, it may be difficult to obtain justice for Vincent Chin at this point. Like I said, on the criminal matter, double jeopardy gets in the way. On the civil matter, they can still try. They're still trying to get the civil award that was granted to the Chin estate. They may never see it. That's one of the problems with civil litigation. You can win a judgment, but it doesn't mean you're going to collect. So where's the positive sign, Emil? Well, the Vincent Chin case is the reason why we have so many Asian Americans of a certain age who were activated. They were galvanized. Their sense of social awareness was heightened when they witnessed what was going on with Vincent Chin. I saw it. Well, you see it among the lawyers. You see it among the activists. You'll see it among, especially in the law, you'll see people say, that Vincent Chin case, that was the case when we woke up. And now I think it's the case every year we got to go to and think about what it means to be part of a community that stands up for its rights, that stands up and takes action. I think the coincidence of Juneteenth, June 19th, 1865, when slavery ended, and the coincidence of June 19th, 1982, when Vincent Chin was dead, this is a reminder that we stand on common ground in terms of fighting for our rights in our communities of color in these United States, and that we fight together. I think that's the overall lesson when you think about it. And it's good because a lot of people think that our interests are divergent, that our interests do not intersect or come together, but they do. And we're not separate. In fact, we're triumphant when we fight in coalition, when we join in coalition in these battles for civil rights, for equality, for equity. So today's kind of a special day, and I know a lot of people don't think about it. I had to mention to a couple of Asian Americans, hey, today is the day that Vincent Chin was attacked, and they're like saying, "Oh yeah, already," because they know that we talk about it every year. We talk about it every year, and they just forget. And yet, last year was the 40th. This is the 41st year. This is one of those things where you don't want to just think about it on the round number years, the equal years, or the every 5 years, every 10 years. No, you got to think about it every year, and you got to think about it from the day it first happened on that June 19th, 1982. That's when Vincent Chin and Ronald Ebens. Their paths crossed in that strip club in Detroit. Vincent Chin was there for his bachelor party, and Ebens was there having a drink with his stepson-in-law. And Ebens is a white auto worker in an industry under siege by Japanese imports at the time. And he sees Chin, and his brain must have registered Japanese, even though Chin was Chinese American. I asked Ebens about this in 2012 when I talked to him. He denies the racial subtext of the incident. He told me, quote, "It had nothing to do with the auto industry or Asians or anything else. Never did, never will. I could have cared less about that. That's the biggest fallacy of the whole thing." That's what he said. That's a quote. Gotta wonder, though. Chin's friends who were there testified to the contrary. Ebens may have just told me that to lessen the idea that there was any kind of racial animus, a racial aspect to this whole thing. That it was just a kind of a physical fight between two people who disagreed on something personal. Not clear, although there was a fight in the bar when someone threw a chair that hit someone, and some people say it was Chin who threw a chair, it hit Nitz, whatever. The argument, the fight spilled out into the sidewalk, out of the strip club. But this is the thing about Ebens, regardless of what Ebens says, it has nothing to do with his race. Ebens admitted to me he hunted down Chin and found him. Ebens and Nitz went into their car. They were searching for Vincent Chin. And when they found him in a nearby McDonald's, a parking lot, they got out, they found Chin. They restrained him and swung a bat at Chin's head, resulting in his death. June 19th, 1982. Now it's 41 years after. Like I said, Ebens has never served time for the murder, nor has Ebens he was ordered to pay $1.5 million to the Chin family in a wrongful death settlement. Nothing's been paid off. Not to the Chin family, the Chin estate. Ebens avoided justice even when he knows he's at fault, even when he publicly talks about it. Like when I talked to him in 2012, he said, "I'm as much to blame." He said, "I should have been smart enough to just call it a day." After Chin and his friends started to disperse, Ebens told me it was time to get in the car and go home, but he didn't. They hunted down Chin. They found him in that McDonald's parking lot. And as Nitz stood behind Chin, Ebens swung that bat and delivered that fatal blow. Ebens told me, "I went over that 100, maybe 1,000 times in my head the last 30 years. It doesn't make any sense of any kind that I would swing a bat at his head when my stepson is right behind him. That makes no sense at all." Still makes no sense. The murder doesn't make sense, nor does the application of justice, which has only benefited Chin's killer. So imagine this. Vincent Chin was in a coma at the Henry Ford Hospital on June 19th, the night of the beating. On June 20th, on June 21st, the 22nd, and then the 23rd. He didn't wake up. But an entire generation of Asian Americans did. Those born in the civil rights era, this was their call to social justice. This was their awakening. And it was just the first wave. That's why you can't just remember this day on just the round number anniversaries. You got to think about this day every year. It happens. And now, coincidentally, we have a federal holiday, Juneteenth, to remind us. Yeah, this is when the slaves in Texas were told they were free. 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. This is the marker. This is the marker that there can be a delay, but the truth will win out. We're still waiting. Asian Americans still waiting for justice in the Vincent Chin case. And it's a reminder that justice may yet come to the Chin family. And if not, then new generations of Asian Americans will hear this story, understand this story, and know the importance of solidarity, of social justice, of working together in coalition. So when people say, hey, Juneteenth, it's about freeing the slaves. Yeah, it's about freeing the slaves. But it's about all our communities working together. Because on this day, too, we remember Vincent Chin. We don't forget him. So every day at 2 o'clock, I do a little meditative thing about what these days mean to Asian America. From the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd to the 23rd. And we'll have a little reflection about Vincent Chin from the writings that I've done throughout the years, including my conversations with Helen Zia, who is the trustee on the Vincent Chin estate. And we'll just take some time to understand what happened 41 years ago. I mean, it's a strange coincidence that I know some people would say, look, let Juneteenth have its day. You can talk about Vincent Chin on all those other days while he was in a coma. But no, it actually happened on June 19th. The beating that sent him into a coma. And we waited from the 19th to the 25th until the life support was pulled. And that's when really Asian America came alive. So we'll talk about that this week on this show. Catch it live right here. I usually talk about it on Twitter that, hey, it's going to happen. But you can catch it on YouTube at Emil Amok 1, on Facebook at Emil Amok, or at emilguillermo.media, or my name, Emil Guillermo. It's just a time to reflect and ask the big questions. What does it mean to be Asian American? What does it mean for people of that generation to come forward and say, yeah, we got to do something? And how it still tends to, when people hear it for the first time, new generations, not just of Asian Americans, but people in general. I have been in audiences, mixed crowds, where people hear what happened to Vincent Chin, and people hear what happened to Ronald Ebens, serving no time for this murder, being fined, being able to plea bargain for the death of an Asian American. People are they're aghast. They don't believe it. but this is what happened. And so maybe we will see new generations say, you know, this is the call I'm answering. To try to fix this, to try to answer this, to try to make sure this never happens again. Right? And so join us again, 2 p.m. Pacific Live, all this week. We'll get your comments on the chat here on Facebook. You can also go to amok.com and send an email, and we'll read your emails about your thoughts about Vincent Chin. And it began, Juneteenth is your reminder. It's good though, because Juneteenth is a reminder of hope. It's a reminder that truth triumphs. There is social justice. The slaves are freed, even after 2.5 years. 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, they're freed. That's the hope that those of us who still seek justice for Vincent Chin, the hope that it still may yet come. All right. You know, I like to meditate in general. Had a good Father's Day yesterday, by the way, where I really just kind of meditated and did nothing. It's always, you know, you can say, oh, what kind of presents? No, it's not about presents. You know, who did you see? It's not even about who you saw or who talked to you, who greeted you. It's just about taking the time to reflect about fathers. And then, as I said in my last show 540 with Dan Gonzalez, check that out. It's on all our sites. I still feel like it's a day for my father, who did the most heroic thing, come from the Philippines to America to assert his Americanness, not his citizenshipness, not his, you know, he was exerting his right as a colonized American. And because of that, there are Guillermos in America. So hard not to say, I honor him. I honor him primarily. Not my time yet. Not my day yet. It is always his day. For now. And so, until tomorrow, we bid adieu. And as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal Kita.